know some of you, but if this is the first time we're meeting, hello, I'm Nathan. I'm a creative director at Insomniac Games, and we're here to talk about Spider-Man. But since we all know his backstory, here's a little about me. Before coming to Insomniac, I was most recently at Disney Games for the last 7 years, where I was telling authentic character stories with other people's IP and tailoring immersive gaming worlds for mobile and console multiplayer titles. I am so hyped I am to be here, and even more excited every time I think about the heartfelt moments and epic memories players make together in a Spider-Man multiplayer game. So, let's get started. To start off, I wanted to share how my Insomniac multiplayer journey started. As everyone on the team knows, I've been doing a very deep dive into the comics. I felt Peter Parker's pain as he reckoned with bullying and real-world anxiety. I felt Gwen Stacy's guilt as she grappled with accidentally killing her best friend. And I felt inspired by the way these characters never quit, and in the end, always do the right thing. In contrast, multiplayer games don't often hit home for me at that same level. Their modes can feel detached, their mechanics unrelated to character growth, their monetization strategies cold and clinical, and at times, their communities can grow toxic. We started asking ourselves, how can we make a multiplayer game with a real character-based emotional core? How can we deliver the ultimate multiplayer Spider-Man fantasy to players? Those conversations led us to our vision for a game that we're calling SpiderMan The Great Web. It's a AAA premium multiplayer open world action adventure game where players live the messy life of a spider hero by stopping crimes, rescuing citizens, and battling villains across a shared open world. From the neighborhood to the NYC Metro to the interdimensional expanse of the Great Web. And just to paint a quick picture, you might think about it as Marvel's Spider-Man meets GTA Online. It's the exhilarating web-swinging, agile moveset and acrobatic combat of Spider-Man with the shared open-world, replayable activities and deep progression systems of GTA Online. Which isn't to say Spider-Man has taken up a life of crime. We want the replayability and progression from GTA Online, not the tone and troublemakers. Here's a look at what I'll take you through today. The vision, the pillars, the game structure, the gameplay and core loop, our next steps, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. Let's talk vision. We want to bring Marvel-style character-based storytelling and Insomniac-style gameplay mechanics to multiplayer. Here's the vision we want to achieve. Spider-Man. The Great Web is a multiplayer sandbox with unparalleled heart. We're out to connect to players with emotionally authentic stories that unfold in a vividly realized NYC. It's a sandbox because you live out the life of a spider hero by making your own choices in a simulated city. And it has unparalleled heart because you identify with your character, team, and world in a way that's only possible in multiplayer. You feel the tension between real life and the life of a hero as you fight to hold your neighborhood together. You team up to stop villains who are working overtime to cash in on a NYC in crisis. And you meet legendary heroes as you explore breathtaking alternate worlds. The Great Web is a multiplayer game that gets its hooks into players by valuing stories and characters just as much as modes and mechanics. You might be thinking, that's a tall order. And to be clear, we're not just talking about high production value cinematics here. We are talking about how we can use multiplayer structure to create a player experience of unprecedented connection to the story, world, and characters. Let's talk about how the pillars support the vision. What exactly gives this game unparalleled heart? There's a spider hero for every player, so that players forge a personal bond with their character. Players inhabit a welcoming neighborhood that sets the bar for safety and accessibility. They explore the ultimate New York City sandbox, where they write their own stories. And all players are connected by the Great Web, where the full player community works together to experience the best of game-changing Marvel lore. Now let's dig into these. Our first pillar is a spider hero for every player. We want players to feel a deep personal bond with their in-game identity. So all players choose their origin story. Who inspired you? Did you lose someone? How did you become a hero? Were you bitten by a spider at all? Your choice reflects who you aspire to be, as a human and as a spider hero. From the origin to the suit, to the powers, to the central challenge. Your character grows with you and reflects everything you've accomplished, all the time you've spent in this world, and all that you've done. And that self-expression extends to your living space. You progress from a studio apartment to a downtown lab with research capabilities, a high-tech hero lair. Your hero and your spider lair are unlike any other on the Great Web, deeply reflective of your heroism and your humanity. We want to extend that human spirit to the social level with our next pillar. We're building a welcoming neighborhood, the safest, most accessible space online. This is an online community where players won't feel intimidated to join in, and the social fabric rewards being a good citizen. The activities we're designing encourage positive social interactions and minimize negative interactions. Players earn rewards together, give each other gifts, and crucially, play together with like-minded players. Smart matchmaking helps you build friendships and ensures that you'll see many of the same players in your session again. We all work together to trigger events and community rewards. When we protect our neighborhood together, everyone benefits. And our third pillar takes us into a dynamic concrete jungle. We're building the ultimate NYC sandbox for web swinging, wall crawling, web throwing, feats of agility and strength, and unbelievable gadget stunts. You can make your own fun. Web tethering with another player to show off aerial stunts high above the skyscrapers, making web slingshots, kicking around an ultra bouncy Spidey ball, using all of Manhattan as your playing field. It's fun just to hang out, and the unexpected happens whenever you play. You can also take on structured challenges, swinging between activities at your own pace. In one session, you might buy a drum kit and play in a band for some extra cash, match up with a like-minded web swinger on the lookout for crime, and then chase down a hijacked helicopter together. Each session plays out like a unique comic issue, guided by your choices. You write your own player story by choosing how you spend your time. Stop Otto's gang enough times, and you could find yourself adding an interdimensional Doc Ock to your own personal Sinister Six. We give the player systems, mechanics, and activities with a wide set of possibilities. And that makes the game endlessly interesting, endlessly surprising, and endlessly worth playing. We're deepening shared player stories with our final pillar. We're all connected by the Great Web, part of a player community that works together to experience the best of game-changing Marvel lore. The Great Web is a social hub where players accept team missions and chart the progress of the full community. You talk to Madam Web, you get daily missions, you go on raids in brand new NYC variants. Each season brings a new long-term objective. Completing the objective unlocks more things to do. If folks ask, what is the Great Web exactly? The answer might be, it's a community hub and mission board with gateways to new content wrapped in the mythology of the Great Web. We use it as a storytelling device and reflection of the full world state. The fact that the source material from the comics supports multiplayer structure so well is one of the big draws of the project for us. When a great web objective is complete, the full community earns gadgets. We might all earn a new spider bot or get a chance to drive the spider buggy. Suits. We might earn a set of suits themed around Ben Reilly and the clones. Events. We might need to band together to stop a hunt by Morlun and the Inheritors. We meet Marvel characters. We pay off stories. We seed new stories for the future. Over time, new worlds unlock and you might find yourself solving crimes in the hard-boiled world of SpiderMan Noir, swinging in a futuristic cityscape with SpiderMan 2099, or fighting a T-Rex on Jurassic Park Avenue. The deeper players dig into the world and stories, the more interesting it's going to get. Let's take a look at the game structure. The Great Web is structured around seasons of content. Each season reveals an unfolding story arc with challenges themed to the plans of a spotlight villain like Venom, Mysterio, the Lizard, or Null. Probably not Stiltman. And over the year, those seasonal episodic stories tie together and build to epic conclusions where villains you saw early on return for pivotal and surprising roles in climactic battles. So, imagine. In Season 2, we bring players the madness of Mysterio. Emboldened by technology from an advanced parallel dimension, Mysterio has all of NYC in his hypnotic thrall. It's a seasonal story arc, a progression wrapper that weaves a storyline through activities, a Mysterio villain scheme where players fight increasingly challenging enemies leading up to an encounter in Mysterio's mind-bending HQ, a great web raid where the player community discovers illusion worlds across the Great Web, a PvP turf battle that sends players into a simulation to separate the real spider heroes from their holographic imposters. Rescues that are all about saving, ranting, hallucinating New Yorkers. Photo gigs that invite players to take snapshots of disorienting imagery across the city to earn a little extra cash. And crimes committed by hypnotized citizens dressed up in Mysterio cosplay. We kick off the season with a special event and layer all of the new activities on top of the open world. The madness of Mysterio, then, is a storyline that threads through many gameplay types and builds to an encounter with Mysterio, like a more story-rich take on a battle pass. Each activity is repeatable, and between PvP, raids, crimes, and a very long-tailed progression scheme, there is always more to do to build up your spider hero. After each season, we'll wrap popular content up in a new dimension, so as new spider heroes join the game, they can experience elements of the madness of Mysterio too, as they explore the great. Initially included this, but upon reflection, I think it's too in the weeds. The season's storyline is time limited, so there's a strong incentive to participate and unlock all of the tiers. Every day, you stop crimes and keep your neighborhood safe. Every week, you take on heroic PvP and co-op challenges. Every month, you stop elaborate villain schemes to keep your city safe. And every season, you work together to battle cosmic threats to defend the Great Web. Let's talk about gameplay. What are the building blocks for a season? What are players doing minute to minute? And how does the core loop keep them engaged? From a mechanics perspective, we're starting with the player actions from Spider-Man. We've synced up all the latest and best: web swinging, web shooting, aerial combat, abilities. To this, we're adding brand new, only in multiplayer mechanics, tethered web swinging, multiplayer web stun, multiplayer web throw. With those building blocks, we're creating multiplayer challenges that reverberate from the Great Web all the way to the streets of your neighborhood. Villain schemes, great web raids, turf battles, skill challenges, neighborhood rescues, street crimes, and side gigs. And looking at the full list of activity types, we can define these activities as player vs. environment, PvE. Villain schemes and great web raids are large-scale PvE, with multi-stage cooperative missions that feed into both individual and community progression. Skill challenges and turf battles are both player versus player PvP types. And side gigs, street crimes, and neighborhood rescues are all varying scales of PvE with opportunities to solo or team up. Now let's break these activities down a little one by one, working from the interdimensional scale to the local scale. Villain schemes are story-driven, multi-part missions where players team up to investigate crimes, uncover plans, defeat factions, and ultimately thwart the schemes of iconic villains. They're the biggest ticket items in each season. As you jump into a scheme, you could find yourself in Great Web Raids. Players travel to alternate versions of NYC to take on interdimensional villains, help save parallel cities, and, in the process, repair the Great Web. Turf battles put you in direct combat with other players, always with a story wrapper. You might enter one of Mysterio's simulations, team up to stop a symbiote invasion, or host a symbiote yourself. Skill challenges let you sharpen your Spidey skills with asynchronous time trials and combat trials, where you can beat your personal best score or test your skills against other players. Neighborhood rescues allow players to make a citywide impact by helping citizens evacuate a burning building or getting them to safety after a villain attack. Street crimes are all about webbing up goons, stopping robberies, and keeping the streets safe. They're always available, all over every variant of NYC. And finally, side gigs are things you do as a real person to earn money to support yourself. They're all about trade-offs as you balance your life and heroic responsibilities with risk, reward. Do you stay incognito and make deliberate progress, or do you slip into your suite and make superhuman progress? And when we're building all of these activities, we ask the questions. Does this tap into the core fantasy of being Spider-Man? Is it uniquely multiplayer? Is it authentically Marvel? Let's talk about the core loop. Fundamentally, the game plays like this. Complete Spider Hero challenges to earn rewards, to buy upgrades that unlock more challenges. And that's a very tried and true RPG loop. But let's see how that feels in the Great Web. You complete challenges that immerse you in the life of a spider hero. You earn cash, EXP, skill points, spider tech, and challenge tokens. And you invest your rewards in upgrades tied to hero levels, abilities, gadgets, inventions, and your apartment. And whether you're using rewards to buy improvements to your penthouse or access to the newest Great Web Raid, your rewards expand the possibilities of your hero and the world as your own personal spider hero story plays out. So, to recap, The Great Web is a AAA premium multiplayer open world action adventure game where players live the messy life of a spider hero. There's a spider hero for every player, creating an identity with a personal connection to explore in a welcoming neighborhood that's safe and accessible, where players write their own stories in the ultimate New York City sandbox. And we are all connected by the Great Web, where the full player community works together to experience the best of game-changing Marvel lore. It's a multiplayer sandbox with unparalleled heart. Now I'd like to play a short video compiled of rough gameplay we've stood up with pre-viz style concept shots of where we're headed, to give you a sense of our gameplay possibilities.
New York City. Nothing in the whole world I wouldn't do for this big, beautiful apple. One moment, you're scarfing down a slice from Vinny's. The next, you're stopping a supervillain prison break. Sometimes you can swing it as a lone wolf, but you're way better off with some friends.
I got a move that tells me what to do. Sometimes I feel so nice. I wanna try myself a few. I got soul, and I'm super bad.
I've seen the Sinister Six before. Never so methodical, so savage. I don't think I'm gonna be enough this time, guys. But together, it just might be. You in?
I'm super bad.
I hope you've liked what you've seen so far. Presentation doesn't end there, but main task was to give you proper idea of what it could be. You can dig into details by yourself by looking into .pptx file. It contains not only slides shown in this video, but narrator speech for each of them. Video was sponsored by GDPZ33 and published by SpiderMan 2 PC Brazil. Speech was recorded with help of AI technologies and Mr. Bean voice.